Good evening, everyone. All right, my name is Eddie Williams. My business partner, Mark Maupin, and I, we've been putting on a series of meetings geared towards investors in real estate or investment real estate. We have them always right here at Nicola's, third Tuesday of the month, 6:30 p.m. This evening, we always record them, put them on YouTube. So our past meetings, almost 3 years worth, you can certainly find them on YouTube. This evening, we're honored to have with us Miss Sharnella Clark. Ms. Clark is a hard money lender, and she has been in the hard money lending business for 11 years. So please welcome Ms. Sharnella Clark.
Hello, and thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Again, my name is Sharnella Clark, and yes, I've been in the money lending business since 2014. I kind of fell into it. My ex-husband and I, we were returning home from Germany, and we were looking for a house to purchase, and there was a realtor who needed to. He was our realtor. He was helping us find the home that we were going to live in, and he also was an investor. And he said, hey, do you want to make 10% on your money? This was back, 11 years ago. I'm like, yeah, cool. I can't make 10% in the bank. And so the first loan that we made was $30,000. And I divorced in 2019. And I've continued the private money lending on my own. Right now I have several $100,000 out in lending funds. And I really love the business. So I'm here today to talk to you about one of the many things that I do to earn an income. I am also a realtor, along with a real estate investor. I have fixed and flipped homes in the past, not so much in the most recent future, or the most recent past, should I say, because I've mostly focused on writing this book here. It's called Help a Fool Spend His Money. And the reason I wrote this book is because I wanted other people to be as financially savvy as I am. And in 2018, before my divorce, my ex-husband and I realized that we had accumulated $1 million net worth. And then again, like I said, we divorced in 2019, and I spent the last 4.5, 5 years regaining that other half that I lost. And money lending was definitely a big part of how I was able to, regain that net worth. So again, I'm a realtor, I'm a real estate investor, I'm a money lender, I'm an author, and I'm a speaker and a coach. So I do a lot of things. So on the agenda today, the first thing we're going to talk about is private money lending, because I think maybe there's a lot of people in the room here who may not be familiar with what private money lending is, how it works, who can become a private money lender, and so I'm going to answer all those questions for you. I'm also going to talk a little bit about debt elimination, because before you can become a private money lender, you have to be financially savvy, you have to be financially strong before you make loans like that. Because sometimes those loans don't always come back in the time frame that you anticipate. Sometimes the loans, if you get into a deal and the investor says, okay, I'm going to pay this money back in 6 months, sometimes that's not the case. And because as a realtor, I understand some of the delays that can happen in real estate. It really doesn't affect me a whole lot, because I've already anticipated that money may be gone for 12 months or sometimes longer. So as a private money lender, you have to make sure that when you're loaning money, number one, you understand who you're loaning money to, how long you can afford to loan that money to that individual for. And then also, on the flip side, if they don't pay you back, you have to be ready to take the property and repossess the property. So, that's the downside of, well, not necessarily, because then you just get a property. So it's not really a downside to it, especially if in the beginning you analyze the value of the property properly, so that if they don't pay you back, then you use that as collateral to collect on that loan. So who can be a money lender? Anyone can be a money lender. We're not banks, so we're not regulated by the government. No one can tell us what interest rate you can charge as a money lender. Most of my loans right now, I'm getting minimally 15% in a first position loan. In a second position loan, we're getting 15 and 2 points. And a point is 1% of the loan amount. So if you're loaning $100,000 and you're charging 2 points in addition to that 15%, you're gonna get 15% annual interest for the duration of the loan and an additional bonus of $2,000. So it's 15 and 2 points. So my fiance and I, we are both private money lenders. I got him in the business maybe about 3 years ago. He had never heard of it. He's like, man, I don't know what this is. And I said, look, I'll put you in this deal, and if the deal goes flat, I'll reimburse you your money. You won't be out of anything. He's never lost a penny, and he just actually funded another loan today. So he's got a couple $100,000 out there. I've got several $100,000 out. So we're making a lot of money with money lending, and it's what I would say is like residual funds, money that's coming in continuously. And I know you all have probably heard that the wealthiest of the wealthy, they don't always work for their money. They may do some measure of work in their businesses, but they also have income streams that are coming in that's continuously making money for them while they sleep. And that's the concept that that I would like to bring to you guys today, by introducing private money lending. So what does a private money lender do? Well, for me personally, I loan to investors who usually fix and flip properties or for buy and holds. Sometimes I will loan to business owners if there's some other collateral outside of real estate that they want to give to me. But primarily my loaning is with fix and flip properties and then buy and holds. Some of you, because this is an investor group, you've probably heard of the BRRRR method, right? Okay, so at the end of the BRRRR method is where I get my money back. And again, I really, honestly, I don't want it back that often, because the longer I'm in a loan, and some of my loans are paid on the back end. So if I'm using my retirement funds, it's paid on the back end. Because I'm not going to be using my retirement funds for quite some time. But if I'm loaning cash, I require monthly payments. And as an example, one of my loans for $105,000, I'm getting, I think it's $1,350 a month. So that's what they're paying me every month. So if they're minimally, most of my loans are like 8 months. And when they tell me, hey, it's almost time for me to pay you back, I'm like, oh, okay, so when are you gonna be flipping in the next property? Because I don't want that money to sit in the bank earning pennies. I wanna continuously flip that money over. So sometimes I prefer to do longer term loans, especially with my retirement funds, because again, I can't use those funds right now. So you might as well have them out working for you. So when can you become a lender? I would say you need minimally $10,000. And $10,000 isn't enough to satisfy a loan, because majority of the people that come to me, they need minimally $30,000. But like I did with a few friends and with my daughter, because she's in private money lending, I'll come up with the rest of the funds. So say for instance, someone wants $50,000 and you have $10,000 to start with. I'll come up with the other $40,000. We'll share that position on the loan. Usually it's a first position, sometimes a second position. I have done third position liens, but that's very rare, and I have to know the investor and know what their style of business is like, and also looking at the investment. So we'll talk a little bit about how when to lend money or who to lend money to. We'll get a little bit more into that later. But where can you lend money? You can lend money here in Michigan. You can lend money in another state. For the first time, I loaned money on a property. What was it? South Carolina? Yeah, South Carolina. I'm so bad. We drove down to South Carolina and we met the investor. And I liked the property, and I'm like, cool, I'm in the first position loan on that one. And I think that one is it's a first position, it's making 13% and 3 points. So the 3 points is great because no matter whether they're in the loan for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, you're still going to get that bonus of those points in addition to the 13%. And so far, I think he's been in the loan for 8 months, so he's racking up a good bill. But it's a good property though. And again, I'm in first position. There was another private money lender who introduced me to this gentleman who is in the second position. So in this particular case, he is an investor who's been in the business for I think 10 or 15 years. And the person who introduced me to him said, this is a good guy. I've done 6 deals with him. I've always made money, but it's in South Carolina. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is new, different. I'll do the deal as long as I'm in first position, because if anything goes wrong, I'll get my money back. You'll be the one who probably have to fight for your money. So, but it was all good. So we worked it all out. Why do investors prefer money lenders? They prefer us because we're fast. I can't, from the time someone calls me up and say, hey, Sharnella, I need a loan, they already know I'm going to ask, what is the ARV, which is the after repair value. I want to know how much you're going to purchase the property for. And what do you think the repairs are going to be like? What do you think, what repairs are you going to do to the property? So you have to add up all those numbers. Then you have to look at holding costs. You have to look at selling costs, buying costs. So when they put all those figures together, I look at those numbers. I'm a realtor, so I can kind of look up the value of the properties in that area. And if the ARV checks out and the other numbers check out, then I said, okay. So then my fiance and I, we drive to the property and we meet the potential or future owner of the property. And we analyze the work that they want to have done. And if I don't agree with what work is going to be done, and I think there needs to be more work, then we go back and work the numbers a little bit more so it's a little bit closer. Because the thing is, I want to make sure that the person that I'm loaning money to is going to make money. Because when they're making money, I'm making money. And what I want is a set of investors that I can loan to again and again and again. I don't want to have to keep finding new people to invest with, because then you have to vet them, you have to go through a deal with them, see if they're good to work with. So I have a list of my 3 top investors that I love working with that flip all the time. I know what their work looks like. I know their ethic as far as, are you going to pay me on time, or am I going to have to chase you for my money? If I have to chase you for my money, you'll never get it again. So again, the fastest I'll fund a deal is 3 days from the time someone calls me. And that's usually with the borrowers that I've done business with in the past. They'll call me up and they'll give me all the specs, all the information that they know that I need. We go take a look at the property. Boom, next day I'm at the bank wiring the money. Okay, so how can you become a private money lender? Well, like I said before, I'm a coach, I'm a financial coach, but I also teach other people how to become private money lenders. I write my own mortgages and notes, which of course was initially written by an attorney. And once you have all of the legal language in your mortgages, there's just certain things that you have to change in particular to that investment. So it's time consuming writing the mortgages and the notes, but it's not that bad. So I probably spent about 3 to 5 hours vetting a deal, and that deal oftentimes yields thousands of dollars. And right now I think I'm in 13 loans right now. And so to keep up with who owes me what money, I just put a little note in my phone, okay, payday here, payday there, payday here, there, everywhere, So just that's how I keep myself, that's how I keep up to date, make sure that everybody's paying on time. And every now and then, investors do get into some hardships. I've had situations like that where I have allowed the property to sell without getting all of my money back. But whatever the residual funds are, I'll just attach a lien to another property. And when that property closes, then I get the rest of my money back. So I'm pretty lenient. Again, that's another reason why investors like to work with private money lenders, because we're not like banks, right? A bank would never do that. They would never say, okay, if you can't pay this money back on this particular property, then I'll just attach a lien to another property. They like us because we're fast, and we don't look at your personal credit. So there's no giving me your social security number to do a credit check or anything like that. I'm looking solely at the investment. At the end of the day, if you don't pay me back, I'm going to foreclose and I'm going to take that property. So I need to make sure that it's a property that I would like to earn, or like to own, sorry. So again, before you can become a private money lender, you have to be strong financially. A private money lender, you have to have your own cash. You can also use funds from your IRA. This is a self-directed IRA, and there are some people who don't know this, but if you have money in the stock market from maybe a 403B if you work in the hospital, or a 401K if you work at any other type of job. If you have a prior employer in which you had the 401K or the 403B, you can transfer those funds to a self-directed IRA, and you can decide for yourself where you're going to make your investments. For me, at the end of my divorce, I didn't know anything about stocks. I didn't know the stock market. So I pulled everything out, and I put it into a self-directed IRA, and I started doing the money loans because that's what I understand, that's what I know. And so I've never lost any money, and it continues to make money. Now, there are fees associated with owning the self-directed IRA, but I pass those fees along to the person that's borrowing the money. So I'm not paying like the traditional 401K. You have to pay someone to monitor your stocks. Whether you win, whether you lose, they still are going to get a fee. Well, when I loan my money, like I said, I don't pay those fees. The person borrowing the money, yes, they pay 15% or 15 and 2 points plus my fees. And they're okay with that because they're getting my money quick and fast, and they're not having to wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks for a bank to decide to give them the money or not. Okay? So in addition to having cash and also using a self-directed IRA, you can also use your HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. If you have a home that is worth far more than what you owe on the home, you can take equity out of that home and you can use that to make money on it, because I do as well. The home that I live in right now was worth about $670,000, but I only owe less than $225,000. So I use those HELOC funds to make loans. Yes, I have to pay some interest on the HELOC, but I still make a profit because I'm at 15%, and the HELOC is usually around 8%. So I'm making 7% on my home, the HELOC. So the people that I invest with are people who have flipped at least 5 homes. So I typically do not loan to new investors because there is a learning curve with flipping homes. And if I were to invest with a brand new investor, they would have to come in with a significant amount of cash before I even consider loaning to them. Because whatever mistakes they make, they'll have to make those mistakes with their own funds, not mine. The next thing that I look at is the reputation of the person that I'm loaning to. What do their peers say? I first ask, have anyone else loaned to this individual? Is this individual a trustworthy person? Do they pay their debts on time, or do they just walk away? And definitely I don't deal with any crooks or shysters. I look at the quality of the work that the investor provides. I do not want to be the private money lender on a property in which the investor has cut corners. Because number one, that's just not how I work. When I was flipping homes, I flipped the home such that when it's done, I would live in that property. Now, I'm not saying you have to go over the top with it, but it should definitely be done right. And because you don't want the new homeowners to move into a home and then find that there's issues with the home that maybe wasn't caught during an inspection. So also with the quality of work determines how fast the property is going to sell, and for how much. So we all know, we've all seen repairs that look like, oh, they just threw something together, they just slapped something together, the paint job is terrible, or maybe, they just didn't pay attention to detail with regards to the remodel of the kitchen. They used maybe substandard materials, and so things are not fitting tightly the way that they should. I'm very meticulous about that. The next thing you want to look at is the location of the asset. And there are certain areas I absolutely will not fund because I don't want to become the owner of that property. So it's very good, it's very important to know the after repair value and go visit the location before you actually make that loan. Okay, so we've all heard it takes money to make money. In money lending, to become a private money lender, yes, you have to have money in order to make money. Cash in this business earns you more cash. Cash works for you while you focus on other things. Consistent income stream of cash from interest earned can increase your net worth like it did for me. Extra cash can also be used to pay bills or buy the luxury items that you want without you having to work with them. I definitely do not condone, or should I say, I would not work overtime to pay for an expensive item that I want or a vacation. I let my private money lending do that. If there's something, if there's a nice purse that I see that I want, my private money lending funds pays for that. If there's a nice vacation that I want to go to, my private money lending funds pay for that. I remodeled my garage last year. It cost me $17,000. That was all private money lending funds. I didn't work for it. So my goal here today is, if you're not in a position where you can become a private money lender, I'd like to help you get there. So the benefits we've already talked about of money lending is there's minimal time involved. Like I said, I might spend anywhere between 3 to 5 hours analyzing whether or not I want to do a deal. And like I said, with that one deal where I loaned out $105,000, they're paying $13.15 every month. That's going to be consistent for at least 8 months. So I put 5 hours into it, and it's consistently bringing in the thousands each month. With private money lending, people will find you. I have so many people calling me. It's like, oh my God, I don't have enough money to go around, which is the reason why I try to recruit other private money lenders, other people who have money, who don't know about private money lending, who I can teach and who I can get into this business and help them earn money as well. You also, with private money lending, you can gain a better understanding of where to invest personally. So with our private money lenders, if we see them in a certain area making money, we're like, wow, okay, maybe we want to consider this area, to invest. And maybe we'll want to buy a flip in this area as well. Because I had gotten away from it because I spent 1.5 years off and on doing other things, writing my book. And so it just kind of took me away from the fix and flip, because I really have more of a desire to help other people become financially strong, because this is something that I had to learn on my own. It wasn't something that my parents taught me. My parents actually both of them were in debt, and they struggled a lot. Even though they both went to college, they earned degrees that didn't pay them the salary that they thought that they were going to earn. And so, I really want people to be financially free. I want them to be in a position where if they choose not to work, they don't have to. I just recently retired from the healthcare field. I'm 49 years old, and I want other people to be able to realize whatever dreams and aspirations that they have. So the only thing about being a private money lender is you learn from your borrower's mistakes. And I'm a huge proponent of not making my own mistakes, but learning from other people's mistakes. So the question is, Are any of you in this room ready to be private money lenders? If the answer is yes, you can take my business card and we can have a discussion later about how you can get into money lending. If the answer is no, then I can help you get there. But before you become a private money lender, I'd like for you to have at least 6 months of savings in the bank. And this is 6 months of savings that you do not touch. And that is 6 months of every expense. If your expenses for the month are $3,000, then you need to have 6 times $3,000 before you start lending. Anything beyond that, because I do not lend all of my funds. I still have at least 2 years of living expenses in the bank at all times in case something happens or whatever, there's a catastrophe. Because I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to go back to the healthcare field. So the other thing is you have to have expendable cash. You don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck trying to be a private money lender, because like I said, sometimes an investor will intend to be in a deal for 6 months, but it may go on for 8, 10, or 12 months. So you don't want to be in a position where you need that money back and that investor is not able to pay you back at the allotted time. So again, you have to have patience. As a private money lender, you have to have patience in order to be in this business. So if you're not in a position, I'd like to get you in a position to grow your net worth. And I want you to steer clear of poor spending choices. I really love talking about financial responsibility. I did for so many years. I had a lot of coworkers, when they were bragging about all the expensive things they were purchasing, but yet they were working like 70 hours a week overtime to pay for them. I'm talking about how many thousands I'm saving. And, they would look at me and they would say, gosh, Sharnella, how do you do that? And then I would give this information for free. And I did it for probably a decade. And then finally I thought, you know what? I just need to write a book, because I really want to help people understand how to be in a position where when you come of age to a position where you can't work, you still want to be able to earn money. You still want to have, through your lifetime, have earned enough money so that you can retire. There's a lot of people right now who can't retire because they don't have enough income. And so I see some of these elderly people out working jobs, and it's like, wow, you're 75 and you're still working, or you're close to 80 and you're still working. Well, in my generation and younger, I don't think there's going to be Social Security. So we are our own Social Security. So we have to start preparing now for the future. So for me, I turned, when I first started teaching myself how to save, because like I said, I came from a household, well, my parents were divorced, but both of them were struggling. I looked at them and I said, man, I love my parents, but I don't want to be anything like you. I want my children to have a different life. I want my children to have the things that they want. And I want to go on nice vacations, and, I would have, 6 figures in the bank. And this was a goal that I had at the age of 15. And I talk about it in my book, how I came from zero to $1 million net worth. And I do coach people as well, teaching them how to be financially responsible. If you're in debt, I'll teach you how to get out of debt, how to save. And if you want to get into private money lending, then I teach you how to get into private money lending as well. So the thing is, you have to love saving more than you love spending. So for me, I've heard the term retail therapy. I hate that, because retail therapy, at the end of the week when you're tired, you feel busted because, the job has kicked your butt all week. What do? You go spend more money. To do what? Keep you fixated in that job that you hate. It's an endless cycle. You have to get out of that cycle. So that's what I'd like to do. What I'd like to do is change 1 million lives. I want to sell 1 million books. So some of you in this room, maybe this book isn't right for you, but if we could change the trajectory of the youth, the teenagers, the young people coming out of college, there's a lot of things they don't know. There's a lot of financial pitfalls that are out there waiting to lure them in and trap them in debt. I really, really want to help them get on the right path so that they don't have to be in debt. And in 20 years, they can become a millionaire. And again, this isn't an overnight thing. Becoming a millionaire is not an overnight thing. And so I'm not teaching the get-rich-quick schemes that a lot of people out there are teaching, which are lies. I'm going to teach you how to do it as an average person, because I'm just an average person just like you. There's nothing more special about me than you. Anyone in this room, if you make the right moves, make the right decisions, the right investments, you can be in a position to retire the way that you want to retire. And maybe some of you don't want to be a millionaire. Maybe you just say, hey, I just want to have, a little more than enough to live comfortable. I can help you do that. So the point is, with money lending, you want to grow your wealth. It helps you to grow your wealth. So with the money lending, what I would do is I worked my job. I did a whole bunch of other things, which I talked about in the book, how I made my money. But ultimately, the extra money that I saved from my job, all of the interest that I earned from the private money lending over the years, it all went back into a pot to go back out again. And I never really spent a lot of money on frivolous items. Yes, I do like nice things, but it was never over the top. I could always afford it. If I didn't have that money in the bank at the time, I did not purchase it. Okay, so that's the thing. You don't buy today hoping that you can pay it off tomorrow. If you don't have the money in the bank today, you really can't afford it. And if it's not a necessity, don't buy it. Delay that gratification. So what I did was, I started, after the divorce, of course, I had to make back the $500,000, and the money that I had, I started flipping homes. I did some other things as well, which again is in the book. But all those things that I did to earn money, I still put all of that residual income into private money lending, let it earn, the interest. At the time, I was earning 12 to 15%, but I, over the years, have gone up on my rates. So I start at 15%. And believe it or not, we were in a loan where, what were we making, 25%? Yeah, it was 25%. And so sometimes I make 25%, sometimes I make 30%. It just all depends on the risk level and the amount of money that the person wants and for the length of time. So again, you take all of that money, and it's called compound interest. I'm sure you all have heard it, and it compounded over the years. And that's how I was able to get to the point where I can retire at 49, turning 50 on Friday though. But yeah. And I'm actually getting married on Friday too. Yeah, this Friday. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So again, if you're in a position to become a money lender and you have further questions that you want to ask me, you can take one of my business cards, and when I come back from vacation, we can have a conversation. If you're in a position right now where you're not in a position to become a private money lender, but you want to become more financially secure and you'd like to one day become a private money lender, you can also take my card and we can discuss how I might be able to help you do that. So I do have a website in which if you're not sure that you want to purchase a book tonight, but maybe you have a family member who you think might benefit from reading my book, you can visit sharnellaclark.com. Again, that information is on my business card. I am also on YouTube. So my YouTube channel is Financial Fix with Sharnella. And on the YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of videos where I'm interviewing investors who I'm giving loans to. So you'll see quite a few of those videos. I will tell you that I was camera shy for a long time, so that was the only way I wanted to get into the camera, was if I was speaking to other people. But more recently, I'm really pushing my coaching and speaking business because I want to get the word out about financial responsibility to people who really need to hear it. And again, it's for everyone. It's for all ages. It's for high school students, college students. It's for middle age, and it's for those who are embarking upon retirement as well. So I am on Instagram and Facebook. My name, it's again Sharnella Clark, made everything easy. My email, sharnella@sharnellaclark.com. And again, if you want to purchase my book, it's sharnellaclark.com if you decide that you don't want to purchase one tonight. But I thank you so much for listening. But if a few of you have questions, I'm ready to answer some questions. So his question was, what's the minimum amount of money that you can get started in private money lending? If you're going to partner with someone like myself, $10,000. But if you're going to do it independently, it would be $30,000. Most borrowers ask for a minimum of $30,000 in most cases. The return on $10,000, if it's in a first position, I charge my investors 15%. If it's a second position loan, meaning that there's another lien holder ahead of me, I charge 15% and 2 points. I've only done, I think, 3 third position loans, and that's 15 and 3 points. But again, that's, I think we did that one with an investor on I think that project is over $1 million, and there's like a couple $100,000 equity in that property, so I felt comfortable. I did a second and a third on that. I also forgot to mention that there are opportunities for what they call gator lending. Some people may have heard of it. It's very short-term lending for just a brief period of time. Usually the people who take advantage of this are wholesalers. They will find a property that a homeowner wants to sell, maybe for whatever reason or another. They can't sell it on their own or don't want to, they just need the money fast. The wholesaler will sign a contract which is called an assignment, and then they will find an investor to purchase it. So you've got, it's called an A-B-B-C transaction. A is the seller, B is the wholesaler, and C is the end buyer. Well, B doesn't want A to know that B is selling to C, so B comes to me and they say, hey, can I have 50 grand for 3 days and I'll pay you $3,000? I say, sure. I've made as much as, what, $1,500 in 1 day. So those, I do those loans as well. But that, those loans typically are tens of thousands. They're not, you know, the lesser amounts. What, why would a borrower want to come to me versus a larger, I guess, broker or a person who lends money? Well, because I, again, look solely at the property. I'm not asking for W-2s. I'm not asking for your social security number. I'm solely looking at the investment. Now, there are some lenders out there who are hard money lenders that work through brokers. It takes typically about 2 to 3 weeks to fund. Again, I can fund within 3 days.
What's your minimum loan amount?
I don't have a minimum loan amount. You're willing to pay, I'm willing to loan. I've loaned as little as $5,000, you know, so it all depends. So you have to have a note to accompany the mortgage. The mortgage is what you use to take to the county to record the lien, and the note attaches to the mortgage. It does not get recorded, but what it does is it explains the terms of the agreement. It explains when the money is due back. It talks about what happens if they don't pay on time. I charge a $10 a day late fee. And it also outlines the fact that when I use my IRA funds, they're paying all of my custodial fees, the wire fees, everything. So this is, if you have to go to court, the terms are expressly laid out very clearly in the note. I do not charge a fee. This is how I make my money. If I help you, assist you get into a loan, your interest is going, while you're learning, your interest is going to be slightly reduced. So if you would be giving, if you would be getting 15%, you're likely going to get 12, and then I am going to, the borrower is then going to pay me 2 points. So that borrower is still going to get a 12% loan, but they're going to pay me a fee of 2 points on that loan. So you, as learning, you know, you don't have to pay me anything. Points? Okay, so if you give a $100,000 loan, 1 point is 1% of the total loan amount, so it's $1,000. So in order to become a private money lender, you have to have funds of your own. I have a friend, we have a friend of ours who wanted to get into private money lending, but right now he has $20,000, but the loan was for $30,000. So I said, okay, cool. I've already done the market analysis. This is a great property. It's a first position lien. You're going to get 15%. We're going to go look at the property. So we looked at the property together. He met the investor. I put in the other $10,000. So, and what I did was I charged the borrower 1%. So I gave him I kind of gave him a deal because I was partly in the loan, and I explained to him that this is a new person that could potentially be your lender. So for me bringing him to you and giving you access to him, I want 1 point on this loan, even though I'm still in the loan myself. But his $20,000, he's still making 15%. I'm making 15% on my $10,000, plus I got the 1 point for bringing a new person in. So his question is, I mentioned that I will not loan to new investors because there's a lot of things that they have to learn. How do I know that the individual has flipped at least 5 properties? Well, there's a small group of private money lenders. There's about 6 of us, and we all communicate with each other. And we talk about who we've given loans to, how well they treated us, how well the whole experience went. So typically, if you're not in that group and you're someone that I'm meeting, because I go to a lot of networking events, what I'll do is I'll say, okay, so what properties have you actually, renovated? And they'll have to give me the addresses, and I'm a realtor, so I can check the facts and see, okay, what's your business name? Then that property should have been owned by your business. I can look at the photos because I have access to the MLS and see what the property looked like at the time that it was sold. So that's how I verify if they're telling me the truth or not. Okay, so her question is if a borrower wants to buy and hold a property, that's the BRRRR method. I had another property where it was over a year. I don't care, I'm getting my money. I actually like long loans because that means the longer that I'm in the loan, that means I got paid so much money for just 4 or 5 hours of work. But if I have to turn my loans around every 3 to 6 months, that means I'm working more. So if they're in the loan longer, I don't care as long as I'm getting my money. The biggest loan I've ever done was 105. And I typically don't like to put more than 100 or 105 into a loan because if they do default, I just would rather not have $200,000 or $300,000 in one investment. Yeah. So his question was, when I run out of funds, is there someone else that I know that I can refer? Yes, there's always someone else. Either the 6 people that are private, the 5 other private money lenders that I know, we all communicate with each other, and when we're out of funds, we call each other. And just like I was talking about the guy with the South Carolina property. So we all share loans when we're out of money. The other thing is I do have a couple friends who have pulled hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the stock market because they didn't like the direction of the stock market. They, with every little wind that blows the wrong way, money just vanishes. Where it goes, I don't know. And then they were tired of all the custodial fees associated with that, and even when they lose money, they still have to pay the fees. So they said, hey, I think they got into a couple of loans, and they really liked it a lot, and they're like, wow, we're making good money, and so they pulled over another $300,000, and so yeah, I deploy those funds out for them, and then when they're dry, then that's why I'm always looking for other people who don't know about private money lending. When we talk about it, a lot of people are like, what is that? They really don't even know. They're like, oh, you can loan your own money? It's like, yeah, no, the government cannot regulate you. One thing though, never make a loan to a homeowner. It's always an investor. You want to be careful of the Dodd-Frank rules, which says you can't go over 10%. So I don't loan to any homeowners. I have had people calling me saying, I would like to borrow money for, a personal thing, or maybe I want to do some renovations on my own home, and I turn them down because I don't even want to go down that path. It has to be for an investment or a business. Okay, so I don't accept any funds. This is how it works. If you decide that you want to pull your money out of the market, then I would give you a few companies that you can talk to set up your own IRA, and you would personally loan that money. I would just make the introduction. I would help you with, the mortgage and the note, and I make that introduction, and I would get the referral fee. But none of your funds ever come to my bank account, ever. I don't want that. No. Yes, okay, so I learn from other people's mistakes. Now that's in my personal life as well as professional. Because my parents were my first teachers. Like I said, I saw how they lived, and not saying that, they were bad or anything. They just made some mistakes. And so I learned early on from their mistakes and other family members' mistakes. But in business, yes, we've had investors who have run into issues with permits. They've run into issues with certain issues with properties, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't know, when I do my next fix and flip, I'll know to look for this in the inspection, or so it's just things like that. They share with me, especially if they're going to be late paying back, as far as, oh, I'm still in the deal with Sharnella, but you're still going to get your monthly payments. Oh, sure, no problem. But by the way, what happened? I'm always learning from them. And then they'll tell me what pitfalls they ran into, what contractors ran out on them or didn't do them, well. So I'm learning in that aspect. And so I obviously don't make those same mistakes. Thank you for listening tonight.
Bravo.
Thank you. And I hope you all have a lovely evening for the rest of the night. Okay.
I'm going to call out my friend Nicole, because she is the one that introduced me to Sharnella. And my friend Nicole I've known for over 20 years, and she is a builder, and she's done work for two of my best friends, and they love it. So Nicole, come on up, make your announcement about your business here.
Thank you, Eddie. Yes, I am a builder. I'm a licensed builder. I've been licensed since 1996 and in the industry for over 30 years. My company is Universal Wall Builders, and we are a full-service construction company. And yes, I do know Sharnella and Eddie, and Sharnella is a great woman of her word. And we actually have a deal going on as well.
Pretty big one.
It's a pretty big one. And yeah, so if anyone needs any of my information, I can provide that as well. Thank you.
You don't want to say your information to me?
Oh, yes. Nicole Miller, Universal Wall Builders. And my number directly is 810-334-3999. Or my website is universalwallbuilders.com. Thank you.
Again, I've known Nicole a long time. I saw one of the houses that she renovated in Grosse Pointe. It was absolutely beautiful. And I saw one that she is building from the ground up, and it is gorgeous as well. So again, she's done work for a lot of my friends, or a couple of my best friends. Again, anyone else want to make a real estate related announcement? All righty, thank you very much for coming out.